Hello guys, today's subject is Mobile User Interface Development 19 AI 539. Now we are going to see an exercise in that implement an application to display the contact details using content provider.
Select any
Yeah,
empty
let's
activity
jump
for the
into
setup
content.
of this project, and you will have a main activity Java file Java file will be open where you can have to code your main project, and you will have Android manifest XML file and a main activity file. For this experiment, we will be performing using only the main activity Android manifest and main activity.java file. We won't be using anything else. Now let's look on the concept on which this experiment is depending on. So mainly this experiment is on content provider. So let's look what is a content provider. So content provider is a very important component that serves a purpose for a relational database. The role of a content provider in an Android system is like a central repository in which data of an application are stored and facilitates other applications to securely access and modify the data based on the user requirements. Now let's look on how it works. So when it comes to an application, we have three different layers: a business layer, a data access layer, and a data layer. And now a content provider will be placed on the second layer, which is the data access layer, which links the data layer, whether in data layer where you have SQL data and file and other background details, and in business layer where the application user interface runs, where the user can interact and the client or a client can track, but no one else can track that information. Now in the content provider, we have a very important concept called content URI. Now URI stands for Uniform Resource Identifier. Now you have four key components in a content provider. A content URI, so that is the first content. Then we have authority, then we have optional path, and we have optional ID. Now when you look at this comes to content. Content is mandatory part of an URI, which represents the URI of a content. URI authority signifies the name of the content provider. Optional path specifies the data where the content provider is located, and the ID is a numeric value which is used to access a particular record from a content provider. So this is a very important part which is for the content URI. We'll be using it in the experiment, and these are normally called query strings. So we'll be placing this under a query tag. Now let's look at the functions of a content provider. Functions of a content provider are creating. The functions of a content provider are basically the CRUD operations. So when it comes to the CRUD operation, it's nothing but create, read, update, delete. So create, where you can create under data in the content provider, and read is used to fetch the data from the content provider. Update is used to modify the existing data, and delete is used to delete the existing data stored from the storage. Now, for creating a content provider, there are some necessary steps to be followed. So when it comes to the necessary steps, we have to first create a class in the same directory where the main activity Java is placed. So we have a file placed, we'll be accessing it later. Then you should have the URI address, that is, which we have discussed before. This content authority optional path and its optionality is very important. Then we have to make 6 abstract methods for the content provider class, and you have to access the content provider or import this content provider in your Android manifest XML file. I'll be showing you it later how it can be accessed and how we are placing it. The experiment and for working of the content provider, first we have to import a few packages, that is domain activity. Then what else? Then we have a cursor loader which we have invoked here. You can see my cursor blinking. That is the cursor place here. I import the Android database cursor, and then we have the content resolver which we have loaded, and provider which is loaded inside the main activity class. Inside we have loaded, I will show you later, and the data storage the regular one. Now let's jump on to the experiment. Yeah, so the data main.java file, we have few files imported already, few packages. The remaining you don't have to worry. Once we start coding, the main portion automatically it will be invoked in the pack in this section. So you don't have to worry that you have to invoke everything. Then you write the code. So while writing the code, it will be automatically invoked. Now let's see the domain. So in the Java file, let's create an onCreate function. The onCreate function is a basic life cycle of the application. So we on onCreate, we create and we start the activity of the main activity file underscore dot XML. We started. Once it is started, we are going to place few objects. So what we have to do actually is that we have to get the output like this. So when we click on the run button, the code will run. It will take some time. Yeah, the application ran. Now first select the get contact details. After clicking on the get contact details, we should go to the logcat because in the latest versions it is not showing in terminal. Now as you can see the two contacts. The contacts are GK and Hi, which I have stored here. So these are the two contacts which is displayed in the logcat. Nowadays it is not displaying in the terminal show. The RS is displaying the logcat and the latest versions of the Android Studio. So now we are checking over. We have this condition when we are where we are checking the permission that is granted or not. So here what has happened is that now when we run this program the first time, you will be seeing a pop-up of a content provider asking you to access. We can access the context. Is it allow or deny? So if you deny it, it won't get the context. So make sure to give to allow it before because I've already executed the program, so it is showing you. Otherwise, it will give you an allow option. So once you allow it, it the content provider will access all the data from your phone that can provide the necessary outputs which we are expecting. So it lacks the permission. So that's where the permission is as check for reading context. So read context is the permission which we are invoking so that we get the user's permission to access the context. And so here, if the permission is granted, then we can further proceed. Now content provider, our content resolver, our content gets the context. Now let's go to the URI part. The URI is where we have context from the file contact.com where common data kinds of phone dot content underscore URI is stored. I was talking about the word file. Content authority optional path or optional ID in the content URL is the main key concept of content provider. This is what I was talking all about. So here in the URI we'll be invoking the variable. This is the class name URI and this is the variable which we have created URI where we have stored the content full URI as a string. Now we will be loading the cursor as a way with the variable name cursor and in the cursor using content resolver class dot query is a function and then we have given URL. Now as told you content URI is a query string as I have mentioned before. So we will be loading it in the query and the remaining we keep it as null because we are not going to sort it. We are going to check anything on it. Now we are just checking that there is a contact inside the phone, so it is not equal to none. We are verifying it does it not it is not null, and we are logging it. Now to display our output in the olden versions of Android, you can automatically get the output in the run menu, but in the recent Android versions, we'll getting the output in the logcat. So only in logcat you can find the values displayed because it's a modified latest version. So you can't find it in any other place. Now let's check how this works. This is the main portion where it starts counting. So in this function, we get the count whether it's null or it's more than zero. If it is null, it does not perform anything. We just come out of the program or else we follow the following steps. So once it's greater than zero, the number of contacts is greater than zero, we can go through while loop to check which are the contacts present. Then using the string contact name, we get the contact name of the user. So this is the part to get the context. So cursor gets string. You get the column of the indexes of the contact. So again we have used the content provider here. You can see over here context contact.com and data kinds.phone. This is another content provider and to get phone number we have used another content provider phone dot number. So which gets the data of numbers to the contact related. So if the name is GK and I have contact number 8825885550. So all these, so it will grasp the data of Gautam and store it in the contact number 8825885520 will be stored in the contact number. Now to display that in logcat, we have log I. Logcat is the function to print the logcat menu. So on the logcat menu, we'll be providing the information. We'll provide the contact name and the phone number. Now let's run. Before running this program, let's see the main activity file. What are the changes we have to make? So that basically the UI which will be shown to the user. So for this UI, we need to wrap the text, we have to wrap the content all over it. Make sure we use a relative layout because when we import for the first time, we will have different Android values over here. So please do erase it and change it to relative layout, which is a very important step because there are different functions of our different layouts. We can see it later. It's a very detailed topic. So now we have to create a button. So we are seeing a button tag. It's almost similar to an HTML, but not to XML. So here we invoke the Android class layout with this wrap content, and yeah, the height also be wrapator, and we see constraints of the bottom to the bottom that is placed in the center. It is not placed anywhere beyond it or not the margins, and we get the margin tab. So from the top, how much it has to come down? It's 200 dp, and it's horizontal and horizontal ways. It should be centralized. So we get it, we give it true. Otherwise, you will have to now perform on-click function. So here you see right the button gets contacts. So this button dot get contacts is nothing but the function which we have invoked in the main activity.java file. Here you can see right, so public void button get contacts. In this other functions we get the get contact phone numbers. So here in this function it is a private function. So yeah, so this is how it works. Don't worry about the yellow line. It's just a warning. You can erase this warning by just putting this in a string XML file. So basically you have to remove that. You can store this value in a string XML file. So there you can find it. So yeah, string.xml file, here you can save strings, like you can give some string name and like get equal to some ID. This ID should be unique and you have to give your old text which is displayed over here, get contact details, and you can invoke it over there. So yeah, this can be done. Then we have to go to the main portion where we import the packages of permissions and all. That is the Android manifest file. Okay, Android manifest file. In the Android manifest file, we give the content provider the permission. So here you don't have to modify anywhere. Here you have to just modify your user permissions. Android name equal to Android permission dot write contact. So this is where allows the application to have a pop-up whether it should allow the access or deny the access. So this is the only reason we perform this activity, the function of this. Otherwise, if this line is missing, it does not provide any access. And even this, not even this line reads the context. This is also important. Both of them should be written, or else you won't be able to get the details, or the pop-up won't be visible. Now let's move on to the screen. So I just close this up, stop the run. Let's select Pixel 3 API. Now let's run it. Yes, you can see the log get. Let's click the button over there. Get contact details. Now you can see over there I have given total number of contacts and the name, and there's my phone number. There's another phone number. So this is all mentioned. This is also mentioned. So how do you verify? So you can actually use this emulator as a normal phone. Let's move on to our phone and we can go to the contacts, like phone contacts. Yeah, we can see the two contacts, GK, whose number is 8825885520, and another contact is that high contact, which I stored some number 987654321. Both are showing in the logcat. Okay. After this, we can what we are showing in the logger. So by this, we have already added. So for the first time, when you click the contact dot get contacts, you'll get an empty. So yeah, first you have to. It's just not like a normal Android phone. Just create new contacts, add some random number or random name, For example, I given some samples like GKI. You can also use the same or different samples of your own. Then you have to, after creating the sample, you have to phone number. You have to save the number. That's the important step. After saving the number, let's move to the application. After moving to the application, we should just press the get contact details. After pressing it, if you again go to the logcat, yeah, it was updated again, and you can see the total number of contacts were two, and the numbers and the name of the contact, everything is there. So let's scroll down. Ah, yeah, we can find the total number of contacts, my number, everything. So and so. Okay, this is how the fourth experiment is performed. Thanks a lot.